Thank you for asking. It's late in India, isn't it?
Yes, 10 o'clock. That's just fine.
Yeah, you look very fresh, anyways. Meaning, yeah, it doesn't tell me that it's late in India.
The day starts early and then day ends late, so which is normal.
Yeah,
So how's your day going?
this going pretty good. It's around 9:30, so looking forward to day unfolding.
So you currently run your own company, is it?
Yeah, so from 2010 to 2019, I've run the company with Oracle Web Center Sites Content Management System as the expertise, and after that pandemic hit, and started building some products like
Okay.
products for the grocery shop, for the music platform, and stuff like that. Then I ran out of money and started working in other organizations. Picked up AEM because AEM is the one that replaced Oracle Web Center Sites. So from 2019 on, I worked with various companies. I mean, via partners with Kaiser Permanente, Herbalife, Slalom Consulting. And I also worked as a director of software engineering at Comcast as well for an year, working on their video content management system. And off late at Capgemini, leading various projects, AEM modernization, and integrations, and Salesforce, know your customer journey as well. So it has been sort of up to 2010 to 2019. Oracle heavily content management focused, and working on solutioning, development, whatever it takes. Just fold the hand, do upgrade and stuff like that. And in the last 6 years of consulting at various companies, take on whatever is necessary to you know work on various, whether it is wearing the hat of a product owner to lead the implementation project of content AEM, or own business architecture in the business organization to ensure that it's architected the way the content editors want it, and liaison with the you know their engineering team and the content team, digital branding, and the whole gamut of from the beginning to delivery and deployment. And yeah, off late it has been high level architecture, producing the design patterns, assisting with the migration, and as is technology stack versus the what is expected, kind of the target state architecture. Yeah, with the various design patterns.
You are aware of this role, right? We are hiring, so I believe you must have been informed.
Yeah.
Right. So this particular customer we are working with, they are embarking into a large sort of modernization initiative. It's a global scale, and then it involves not only AEM but also other Adobe solutions.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll be working very closely with the customer, and customer is a sort of matured customer in Adobe space. In fact, they themselves have influenced some of the product decisions. Some of the Adobe products got matured because they were using it, right? So obviously the conversation and the working with them will be on the little elevated level, right? So one of the thing is, they want to take a decision, for example, because they have more than 100 sites, globally for different businesses, and then it's a multi-month, multi-year project, right?
Yeah.
So now let's say you are going and meeting their CIO and CMO. You have to give them a roadmap, right? Now they have a single on-premise or maybe managed services AEM deployment, and they want to move to cloud. And because it's a longer duration, the target environment or target solution itself will undergo into multiple iterations.
Yeah.
Who knows after 1 year what things will come in Adobe Stack, right? So what you plan today, it might change. So how will you advise them, because they have a single or maybe couple of AEM deployments across the globe, serving so many countries, so many businesses, different content teams scattered across the globe, you know, and then I think millions of pages, right?
Yeah.
Millions of pages, so many templates, so many components, different maturity of authors, different way of analytics implementation. So it's very complex. So if you have to handle that, how will you approach?
Definitely. I could probably take with an example of the recent implementation and then come back and answer that. That way it formulates my thought process also pretty well. So recently, 3D, there is a Fidelity. You have heard of the Fidelity, right, customer?
Yeah.
Of one of the largest customers of Capgemini. And so they were going through 3D and to content, AEM modernization. The modernization project involved 3D and to AEM, but they were using not just Tridian, Drupal, Tridian, Sitecore, AEM, but predominantly maybe 80% of the whole company used AEM, the Tridian. So the challenge there, it was also hundreds of departments, right? They had like hundreds of implementations of content management, and other complications they had was actually they had built a delivery, it was a headlessly setup, and their personalization engine, rules engine were tight. In one of the architectures, it was tightly coupled within the Tridian. In other, they had moved out the personalization. So now we had to fit in AEM in the equation, where the technology team was pretty strong. They had built their solutioning, and Tridian was customized beyond beyond its limitations to cater to their needs. So what we did was, I was part of the analysis team of architects and product managers to go and discover their current state and what are their care abouts. It actually stemmed across various stakeholders, right? Basically, it's also from content authors, the marketing, the technical team and all that. So we had to address everybody's needs, and what we did was we had target state architecture, initial target state architecture in the mind at the end of the first discovery phase, because our intention was to move into the next phase and during the discovery phase.
So what was the source environment?
Source environment was predominantly Tridian, and they had integrated with various technologies, like they had a personalization, homegrown personalization built in. They had, of course, they were using Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, and all sorts of analytics. You can imagine various departments. Some departments went to Drupal, and some were using, so predominantly, let's take Tridian because that serves 80% of the cases, right?
Sure.
So I just wanted to give you this scenario, and then I'll start talking about the architecture. So we went through the discovery, we understood their pain points and exactly what they needed, and came up with 3 design patterns to serve everybody's needs. One was actually a marketer who really was very happy with the preview. They already, one department had implemented AEM already, and they did not know anything about how the internals work, but they were happy with the full preview, like implementation, the way they did it out of the box without the head. It's headful implementation. Then what we did was we came up with one pattern, which is right now their stack was that the front end was using React, and some cases it was Angular, and it was a headless delivery, and it was using APIs. Like majority of the cases it was using REST API, but we came up with a solution where in some cases it could be GraphQL, in some cases it could be REST API. So we were still debating about that. And so the way we mapped, like you said, we have to take into consideration the change management and their adaptability, and of course, how do we make sure that we make use of the power of content management AEM, yet keep it so similar. So when we examine the folder structures and the properties within the Tridian, was mapping very well with our nodes and properties within AEM, and content fragment model fit well for what they were looking for, because it could be modular, and it could serve multiple media devices and everything. So
Mhm.
so my thing was to map their folder structures into content management. So the way we approached it, because it's hundreds of departments and we have to break it down, so we just took a pilot project. It was all done in Adobe, what do you call it? They had chosen the cloud already, so even their implementation was on AWS. So we chose the cloud model, and then it's basically, first thing was to set up the DAM. We separated out DAM and said, okay, we're going to implement DAM and let you know how all these metadata, tagging, taxonomy, all that can be transferred over, and we can show you how those assets are there. So that was the first one. Second one was, we chose one of the departments where we implemented a portion of their website on AEM, but content fragments. So initially they were like, you have created so many fragments, so it's going to be hard for us. So we had to kind of show them how we can assemble them using the page, and how we had to go through a couple of iterations.
Sorry, how many content fragments were there?
Oh, content fragments, we had around how many? Like we had video content, we have, that is all media, but basically page, and there were about us page, and what is it called? The content that was shared, maybe 10 content fragments were there. 10 types of content fragments were there in that.
How many total? How many content fragment itself? So you have the content fragment model, right?
Yeah.
And through model you will create the content fragment.
We just created a small portion of the site, right, for the pilot project. I think it was just 10 content fragments. That's it. For the it was like an end-to-end integration that we wanted to show, right? Like content flowing into the AEM, and we set up the content structure and the content fragment model, and actual content fragments, and a page that represents about us, and home page. I think those are the two pages we took. And basically, from the React application, the out of the box content fragment, we just use out of the box content fragment. We didn't do customization, but we married it. There was during publish, I didn't do this, but this is the design we followed. We just customized the publish, so that the JSON structure was marrying with one of the rules we were given was, the React application, whatever they are doing, they shouldn't change. For the first pilot, don't change anything in the delivery. Just marry the content to content, and do some transformation in between to make sure the content is delivered. So we did that pilot project. Now, coming back.
So how did you achieve that? So it's an interesting thing. So how was it done? Because let's say you have a content fragment model which has maybe field as maybe field one's a title, description, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, maybe image or video link, right? So something like that. But your target, which is consumer, right? The React application.
Yeah.
They may understand a different format.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was
right. So where will you transform that?
So basically, when you set up the content fragment model, right? When you drag and drop the fields and create the fields, that is when we mapped already the fields that they were looking for. So in that sense, the field names and all were like designed in such a way that it maps the target delivery. But the challenge was, out of the box AEM, it provides a JSON structure, right? But that the JSON structure, that some of the apps that consume the JSON structure was different. So that is where during the publish they had to do the a little bit of a transformation over there to make sure that the rendering application.
So I wanted to know how was it done? The transformation.
Publish custom. I think there is a you have the what do you call OSGI component, where I don't know exactly how they did it, because this is a high level architecture we suggested, and then the team in India implemented it and we delivered it. But I was told that it is publish customization during the when you publish, it goes to the delivery, right? Instead, the publish will go into the React application, but the JSON will go as a converted JSON. Yeah.
So and before that you mentioned DAM, right? So DAM migration. So how is it done? So let's say I have a file system which has all the folders and all the assets, and obviously I will have some metadata associated, right? And permissions on the file system. Now I want to migrate so that whatever access control, whatever permissions are there on the file system, the similar, the user access is also available in DAM along with the metadata.
Yeah.
So how will you, migrate it?
So
What are the different ways?
yeah, definitely. So you have to really plan it out in terms of how do I migrate? What are the metadata associated with it? One is basic file, the second is renditions, and third is metadata and the taxonomy and user roles and permissions, of course, right? So there, the way it is set up is that different departments, like there are some, content assets that were shared across all the departments, and there were some specific to the departments, and so only the department people can access it. That's how Tridian had set it up. Here we use groups and roles permissions, in terms of managing the content, that out of the box user groups and roles will take care of it. But if you're asking about and of course tag manager, I mean, we use metadata tagging to take care of that. And the structure was basically, it was very well structured. Even the digital assets were categorically set up, like the hierarchy, the what do you call the taxonomy. So the correct way is taxonomy, right? So we set up the similar way, set up the similar roles and permissions. And I don't know if they did it an automatic way of, there was an automated way of exporting out the tags and importing back and tagging. I don't know that, but we mapped the whatever was tagged before, because for personalization that was very important. When a query comes in from a mobile into the repository or their normalized database, they use a normalized database in between, from Tridian to normalized database, from normalized database to their mobile was how they had set it up. So the tag was passed in along with the content ID in order for them to fetch the right content. So it was important for us to really tag it and everything. But since I was not completely involved hands-on wise to really set it up, we just drew the diagrams, set up the strategy and worked it out, and a team set it up. So this is what I know.
Let's say, so you talked about modernization of the CMS. So let's say customer is on-premise old 6.4 version of AEM, right? And then, they want to move to cloud, right? Cloud service.
Yeah.
Now you are the consultant, pre-sales, solution consultant. You go to customer says, Shaila, this is my current environment and I want to migrate to cloud. So how much time will it take? How many resources? What is the cost? So, you don't have much time, right?
Yeah.
They will ask some ballpark. So how will you go about?
Yeah, it requires a careful planning. First of all, you get the sizing information, like how many instances do they have currently, how many content users, like all those basic statistics from their analytics and their whatever information you can gather, you will collect those stats and actually inquire about, of course, setting up to performance is not a problem because you can set it up in cloud, sort of you can increase the load or decrease the load. That is not a problem. So basically you map the initial content load, the content, whatever the number of content queries that are coming through, all that you will have to map for, first of all. And also there is a strategy of the versions, right? You're saying some old version and that needs to be brought into the latest version, and have a pilot project done. First of all, pilot project done on-prem to make sure that the version of the cloud, the other challenge over there is in the cloud it updates as and when the features are released, right? They're not used to that. So there are all these nuances we need to figure out. What are all the nuances? The way they deploy is different. Cloud uses CI/CD, and there are certain administration things that are different because you cannot use CRXDE there over there. So you will set it up for the developer instances. There is not much difference in terms of how you set up your own Docker.
How will you migrate the content? Let's say DAM is one migration, right? But how will you migrate the content pages? How will you migrate the components from on-premise to cloud?
So you could actually export the packages and import back in. export them as content
Okay.
packages.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way. The other way is publish. Publish may be slower, but initial publish. And then what other ways we can think of? You can set up a the Docker. First you migrate it into the latest version, then put it into a Docker and ensure that Docker is set up appropriately. And as far as the content, see you can also automate, but in this case it's only Adobe to Adobe. So I don't know if there are any export mechanisms out of the box where you can export and import back into it. Publish and packages are the two guaranteed ways that we can definitely work out.
Okay. Have you heard about Edge Delivery Service (EDS)?
Yeah, actually, that was suggested in one of the patterns that we had, like design patterns, right? Was the edge delivery services, but that did not satisfy all kinds of content. So that was definitely one of the patterns that we used, because for some content authors that don't want to quickly learn AEM, they want to just adapt to their own document, building the content using their document Word or like Google Docs or that kind of thing. Then we said, okay, we can set up certain kind of content only for edge delivery services. Yeah, that was one of the patterns concerned, but I have not dig deeper into it. But I know that that is fast, super fast, and you don't need to have an AEM. It just directly, you deploy everything to the CDN, and then basically it's super fast delivery.
Have you worked on dynamic media?
Dynamic media, when you say dynamic media, what exactly? No, I don't.
Adobe has a solution called Dynamic Media.
No, I haven't worked on it. No.
Okay, no worries. Have you worked on Adobe Analytics?
Analytics, yes, for a long time, right? Because it was called Omniture from the time when we had it with Oracle Web Synthesize. We used to just drop in some of the JavaScript to track it, and basically log into Adobe, get those whatever that implementation we are supposed to do, we would do it in custom. There is Adobe Analytics expert that would track it. But now with Adobe itself, there is out of the box integration via the launch or using the same traditional way of actually dropping the tags. So yes, I have actually, I mean, not implemented, but I've explored various ways of working with analytics. Yeah.
So can you tell me what is the difference between EVAR and props in Adobe Analytics?
Okay. From my memory, EVAR is basically the variables you set at various pages to track the journey of how the pages were accessed. Props is actually, I think, properties. Maybe I'm just I've forgotten, because this way of adding props. See, two things we had to track. One is, of course, which page customer is going through, and other is click, like which CTA buttons they clicked, and that was another. There are various properties set up to ensure that those buttons were tracked.
So now, Adobe has also evolved, right? What is the new? Have you heard of analytics modernization, just like CMS modernization? So we are now talking about analytics modernization. So what is that?
I haven't heard about that, because the last project I was doing at Capgemini was completely Salesforce. So that is when I missed going through the Adobe these days. But I want to get back into it. I mean, if I were to take a guess at it, basically CMS modernization is basically, either moving to cloud or moving to the latest and greatest CMS and using the greatest features of CMS that is modern. So analytics, I would say, is the same way. It's out of the box integration, and of course maybe the AI, using AI possibly, that they're making sure that the customer behavior and the clicks behavior and prediction of how the newer journey is going to be, maybe the analytics is able to track that and play a role in predicting and reasoning, and as well as following through. I need to really follow up on that. I need to catch up on those, but that's basically what I'm thinking.
Have you worked on Adobe Target?
Adobe Target, yes, for A/B testing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, A/B testing we had configured. It's basically configuring in both, Adobe, making sure that the experience fragment, we had used an experience fragment to make sure whether a certain banner is being hit, what percentage of the test cases are hitting certain banners. So that's how we had set up the A/B testing. For A/B testing, we had done this one, Target. Yeah, and it also can be set up with personalization. Like if there was an audience manager, if you could get the segments from the audience manager to figure out which segment actually, in addition to number of clicks, in which segment actually did that, there's an out of the box configuration that you could set it up all the way through AEM to Target to Adobe Audience Manager.
So can you create segments in Target also, or no?
I think so. Yeah.
So do we need Audience Manager for Target to personalize?
It depends on the case. I think test cases, like basically, if it's a simple case where you just have a few straightforward segments, I actually haven't. I mean, I don't want to just take a guess at this. Because what I know is that the segments come from Audience Manager and Adobe Target. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think, but
No,
yeah.
no worries. Have you worked on Dispatcher? I mean, basically, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say this customer having so many websites. Obviously, the whole migration will take a lot of time, right? So they can't wait for all the websites to migrate. So they will have some websites running on maybe cloud service. Some websites are still on, say, managed services or on-premise, right? So, but the domain is same, right? So you have xyz.com, and then you have /A/B/C, right? So obviously, let's say /A has moved to cloud service, but /B is still on-premise. So when customer types /B, it should go to the old one. If customer types /A, it should go to the new one, right? So how will I architect it?
Okay, so of course in the dispatcher you can have some configurations to say how you can handle it, like what you can specify the path within the dispatcher configuration and redirect it in that way. And in addition to caching and load balancing, you can also do that.
Will you do at dispatcher level? Because don't you think it is too late? Because dispatcher will get every time so busy, because I just want to go to. So why should I go to an infra of site A, because site A is running on cloud. So for site A, I need to go to B, and then B will redirect me to site A, right?
I mean, if you're talking about, three different dispatchers, right? Okay, here in this case, we are talking about AEM only. All are AEM, but one is managed, one is cloud, and the other is an on-prem server. And, it's the same domain, but then, if it's the same domain, then is the content different? Like, why would you go to three different?
Yeah, but let's say I have three different, 4 or 5 different countries, right? So let's say country ABC. Country A site is say /US. /US is in say cloud.
Yeah.
/India is in say on managed services, and /Singapore maybe on premise.
Then with the Apache level itself, you can redirect them.
No, but which Apache? Point is, if I do at Apache level, it's already too late, right? Because I'm hitting the server.
Yeah, you don't want to. You want to make sure you cache at the CDN level. I think CDN is the best way, right? It's a geographic.
In CDN, can you do the routing in CDN?
CDN, oh no, you have to have something in front of the CDN. CDN's basically it's already mapped, like, based on whatever my browser setting is, wherever I'm coming from, based on the configuration, I get served the content of my country. Okay, so that's already, there is another level of routing that has to happen before it can say, okay, Sheila belongs to this country, whatever. So that will be another Apache server. Another server that's leading in front of all of these CDN. And that's Edge Cacher. I don't know what that's called. I don't want to introduce terms that I haven't worked with, but yeah. How
So
do
let's
I?
say, okay, so let's say you have now everything is moving to SaaS and subscription model, right? Now customer will buy AEM and end of the day AEM is a CMS. And customer will say, I'm paying $500,000 every year to Adobe. But what else can I do? Right. So now you go as a consultant and say, okay, you're already running 100 plus sites, content authoring is happening. I don't see much value because my business is not online. It is more content heavy. So how will customer says, I want to move out of AEM, right? So how will you convince customer that they should remain on AEM?
Yeah.
And what else they can do? Because see, this is typical challenge, right? Because in 10 years back, you buy the license and you just buy once, right? And then you continue. So there's no need to pay every year because you're just running a website and your website is not making any money online. But you have to pay $500,000 every year to Adobe.
Correct.
And then you say, I'm not even realizing the value.
Yeah.
So how will you convince customer to
It happens all the time. And yeah, if they set up if they buy a license, lot of licenses, and set it up like a headless services, then they're really not making use of the power. So in this case, I think we should really see how many licenses do we really need, how many content authors are there, and how many content authors need to know AEM. Can they use edge delivery services? Some of them, you set it up so that their number of licenses are minimized. I don't know how edge delivery services licensing work, frankly, but if let's say AEM license, it's not needed because it's not going through the AEM. So you re-architect in such a way that you figure out, like, I mean, if they bought the AEM and it's making use of AEM for content, so that part is there. What are they care about? Is it the licenses? Is it the where is the really money going? So depending on that, you figure out what are other ways. See, there are people that have work around things like, earlier a lot of they used to sell licenses, and they would buy licenses for everybody that needs to approve content within AEM. So the way they figured out is, okay, let's not do that. Let's just add everybody into Workfront and let the content approval happen there, and then they kind of figured out we need to do many things outside AEM to avoid licenses. So in this particular scenario, we need to analyze their infrastructure and what are the other ways we can do it. And if they are trying to move to Contentful, then Contentful is completely designed for headless delivery. Now you have a challenge of, like, they don't need, it's not as expensive as Adobe and it still serves their need. Now if you want them to stay on Adobe, then we need to give them a case of, I don't know if there's a licensing model where you don't need to buy publisher delivery licenses. I haven't worked too much with the licenses, actually speaking. How do you make it lighter is the goal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think, Shaila, I am done with the interview. Do you have any questions you would like to ask?
Yeah, definitely. So, I've seen your LinkedIn. You seem to be doing a lot of, modern things with Adobe. So I just wanted to know, like, just a little bit about how the architecture has changed recently. When there is a lot of AI, cloud modernization, and edge delivery. So I just would love to hear that from you.
Yeah. So now, so one other thing is the license has changed from on-premise deployment to cloud-native deployment, where you are not worried about any technical debt. So you don't need to worry about old component and remigrating, making it compatible, and so on and so forth. So, and then every time there's a new fix pack from Adobe comes, then you don't have to think about your code getting broken. So you can focus on development and innovation than worrying about your infra getting broken, or you are running on an older version and then you figure out that I cannot even migrate, so I have to rewrite the whole code. So those days are gone. And then now with the EDS coming next level on the edge side of it, everybody, if you look at in the market, all the marketers, they go into core web vitals and 90 plus score, 95 score, 100 score for SEOs and so on and so forth. So edge delivery service promises that in a traditional CMS or AEM world, you will have client libs and JavaScript and CSS, which are forced by AEM, even though developers are not intended to use those. Now with STL service coming, developers have full control over what they want to render, so they can make the page lighter, they can make more adjustment, and then authors can author using say Word document or Google Docs, or they can author using Universal Editor. The way so that openness is now better, and then you don't need AEM developers as such, right? Unless you are writing some OSGI bundles. Otherwise, you don't need to have any front-end AEM developers. Anybody who knows basic JavaScript, CSS, they can build AEM front-end on EDS. And then licensing model has also evolved. Now the licensing model is based on the content request. So no longer user-based license, worrying about how many approvers, authors are required. So those days are also gone. So every layer is scalable. So whether it's a dispatcher or publisher or author, everything is cloud native, everything is scalable. So on-premise to cloud and EDS is a long way, so a lot of things have changed. Licensing model has evolved. Gen AI is part of the basic,
Sensei.
pack. So Sensei plus Firefly behind the scene, OpenAI, Firefly for your image and video automation. Obviously, there are certain credits which are given, and then if you want more credit, you have to buy separate license. Same thing with content fragment. So you can create variations. So you give the context of the audience, the segment, and so on and so forth, and then write some prompt and your base text. It will give you variations. You can choose and publish. So it's not just limited to text, but now image and videos and all of that is coming. So earlier it was limited to text summarization or auto tagging and so on and so forth. But now we have more use cases.
But with respect to licenses, do you think that Adobe is losing or gaining? Because AEM was heavy, like they would charge a lot on AEM, on-prem licenses, but with edge delivery services with no AEM, expertise necessary, is Adobe gaining or losing with respect to this angle?
Adobe has, it's not a choice of gaining, right? We have to survive. So if they have to survive, they have to, they have to change their strategy, and they have to look at where the market is going. So right. They can't be left behind and worry about product. So everybody's looking at cloud native and contentful and optimized, and so many new generation CMS which are coming every day. Earlier 10 years back, maybe there were like 100 CMS. Now we're talking about 400, 500 CMS.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Just if you have, I know it's already late for you, but just could you give me a feel for how your team is organized and how, what are the kinds of projects that you guys are doing?
So, we are Adobe partner for last 20 years.
Wow.
And Depth globally has around 4,000 employees.
Oh, okay.
In India, we have around 450 employees, all dedicated to Adobe Stack. So we have pillar leaders. So we have data practice, we have AEM practice, we have commerce practice. Then we have content, UI, UX.
Okay.
So and then we have open source full stack developers. So that we have divided into pillars, and then each pillar has pillar lead. That pillar lead is responsible for managing their team, their responsibility for the training, upskilling, projects, any kind of ambition they have. So each pillar lead is responsible for their own stuff, what they do.
Awesome. Actually, I think everybody that I spoke to, Jessica, Eric, and Ryan, spoke highly of you and the India team. And they did mention that somebody here has to become very, very savvy so that you don't have to wait 24 hours to. They are right now you're completely dependent on them to answer all questions. So I know kind of expectation of the role is to really evolve, and just know that I really love. I'm very curious, and I know I can really pick up very well. It's just that there wasn't much focus on one technology all these days, like video content management system, Salesforce. As a consultant, you wear your hat and do whatever is needed, right? But just know that once the focus is there, I would love it, and I would love to get back into AEM and do more things. So that's with that thought, I will stop here. I won't ask more questions. It's late for you. It's close to 11.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.